Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. The final question and answer video. If you haven't watched part 1 and 2, I'll leave a link in the description so you can click on it and have a look. Basically, what I did was I asked you guys to leave a comment a couple of videos ago, asking me questions, and I was going to answer them all. Now, I was a bit inundated, I guess, with questions, and I didn't have the time to answer them all in one video, so we're now up to part 3 of answering your questions. Let's start off with a bit of a fun one. This one was, what is your top 3 favorite Pokemon of all time? Now, this was a hard one to answer. And I know this guy gets a lot of love, but you can't beat him, can you? You can't beat the Fire Lizard. He's just the GOAT, isn't he? He's the greatest of all time. Hard to beat him. I've always been a fan of Dragon types. It's so hard to narrow it down just to 3. Always been a fan of Dragon types. Like, I love Gyarados as well, Dragonite, Rayquaza. And then, you know, just for some cool ones, I don't know, I've always, like a lot of Gen 1s, Squirtle's the man, isn't he cool? I remember that episode, you know, where you had the Squirtle with the sunnies on, there was the Squirtle gang. That was a cool episode. And I don't know, like, I've always, you know, things like Nidoking, I used to love evolving into Nidoking on the games, always thought he was pretty cool and tough. Tauros is a bit of a cool one. I love that Paldea evolved Tauros, that is a sick looking cut. But yeah, I guess Charizard, Gyarados, Rayquaza, if I were to pick 3. Next one, how do you, or someone was sort of asking, like you seem to have endless money to buy Pokemon products, where does it all come from? Well, this is a good question, right? Some weeks, and like, I'm certainly not wealthy at all, and I'm not, but you know, sales can be interesting. Some weeks you can deliver, because obviously sell cars, and some weeks when you deliver, you can deliver 0 cars, and from an extremely heavily commission-based job, you can get next to no money. In other weeks, you might deliver 9 cars and have a pretty decent week. For me, this is my hobby. Like, I don't go out, and I'm certainly not wasteful with money. So, you know, some weeks I can barely afford any Pokemon products, but it's my hobby, so I like to treat myself with something. Some weeks it might be as little as a triple booster pack, or a check lane blister, or even a couple of blisters from a slightly older set that, you know, Sun and Moon era, that might only be, you know, $20 each. Other weeks, you know, you can afford a booster box, or a couple of booster boxes, or maybe a slightly older booster box from late Sun and Moon era or early Sword and Shield era. So, you know, to answer your question, I certainly don't have an endless supply of money. You should only spend what you can afford. And for me, this is my hobby and fun, or part of the fun that I have. So, you know, I don't think it's a bad thing putting money towards it. It's not lost money. I'm a sealed collector at heart. I have singles, but not heaps of them. So this is, you know, this is my collection, the sealed collection. I certainly, here's a disclaimer, I certainly don't think you should ever get to that point, and we've seen it again with the Van Gogh Pikachus, where people are just rushing in, grabbing it, back like Sword and Shield era, when, you know, during that craze when supply was super low and demand was at its all-time high, and people was just raking stores from products and selling. I don't think, you know, you should ever contribute to that style of the hobby. You know, it takes away from the people that really enjoy it the most, which is kids. It's still a kids game, and they should have the right to go into a store and, you know, if they've been good for the week, or passed their test at school, or got good grades at school, or achieved a good or did a good job at their team sport or whatever, or their individual sport, they should be treated to, you know, a few Pokemon card packs. So they're the ones that should enjoy it most. So don't ever contribute to, you know, taking away from those that should enjoy the game most. Next question, investing in premium products. I guess you're talking maybe something like Celebrations UPC. Now, this is a bit of a double-edged sword, because investing in premium products, which are rare to get, is fantastic. However, you generally have to pay for it from the get-go. Like, quite often, or more often than not, you're paying triple, double, sometimes 4 times recommended retail price just to get the product from the get-go. Even look at Pokemon 151 Japanese booster boxes. I mean, currently, what are they in the US? I bet you can't find one for under 150 at a guess, because we can't get them now for under 250 here in Australia. So, like, you're paying a premium for something that's, I guess, a premium product, for lack of a better word. So the double-edged sword is that you have to pay more for it at the get-go, but that product should perform well because it's rare and it's more premium and elite than something else. So it should perform well over time. Next question, build and battle stadiums. Are they overlooked and are they going to be the next ETB? Well, I don't know. There's so many sealed products to collect. Like the booster box is the original, the OG, and then it's like the ETB become this secondary product to a booster box, and in some cases is worth more than a booster box because it's arguably rarer. Like a lot of the XY ETBs are worth more than the booster box price. Will build and battle? I don't know. My question to come back to that is there enough space? Is it now too cluttered? Are there too many sealed products? Will it ever be the next? I don't know. It's not a bad product. I think they're pretty cool to look at. Generally got good artwork on them, good packs inside them. So possibly, I don't actually know the answer to that question. I'm almost answering it with a question. Is it too cluttered there for sealed products? Is it just booster box and ETB? Don't know. Next question, sword and shield ETB prices. Will they get to the prices of previous sets? And I think I've answered this a few times before, and my answer is a pretty strong no. Yes, they'll appreciate over time, but you've got to remember, and this is a very clear point, and a lot of you probably already know it, they're printed so much more heavily than previous ETBs. Previously, during Sun and Moon era, it was pretty much one and done, unless it was a holiday set like Hidden Fates. Prior to that, XY era, and especially the final black and white era like Plasma Storm, they were such low print runs, like so rare. And the other side of the coin is the plastic was so fragile on them, and still is, mind you, which is frustrating about ETBs, that quite often they would tear and people would just like, oh, well, it's half opened anyway, I might as well finish opening it. So no. They're not going to get to the same prices as those vintage ETBs, I guess we'll call them for lack of a better word. But they will appreciate, especially if it's a good set. Like Evolving Skies ETBs will go up. They just will. Next one. And this is a big, Japanese versus English. This is a big one. And for me, this is just personal preference. I don't think you can go, well, I think the quality of Japanese cards are better. I like the way they distribute the product and don't, I suppose, just oversaturate the market with it. Whereas, English is just, I did that video on the stats of how many cards have been printed, and what was it from memory in 2023, 9.7 billion. Sorry, in 2022, 9.7 billion cards printed. Man, they just got the printers ramped up to full. But it's personal preference. If you like, some people love Japanese, like the Japanese waifu cards wear a premium. The sealed product, you get those, guaranteed hits. Like look at 151, you've got some extra chase cards in a lot of the Japanese sets as well that might come as promos in the English side. You've got things like the Master Ball holos in Japanese 151. So I guess there's a little bit more of a premium feel to 150 to Japanese. Is there, even to the point of like guaranteed, illustration rares or special rares in each box from a special set? Which one's going to perform better? Hard to say. I think Japanese 151 will perform better than English 151. I think it depends on the set a little bit. Next question. Where are we up to? Thought process for a new set, investment-wise. So what's your thought process on a new set? Well, I look for a few things. First of all, I don't buy into it straight away. I just want to see how it settles into the market. So that's the first thing I'll do when a new set comes out. I don't have an Obsidian Flames ETB yet. I think it's going to dip a little bit lower in the coming months, so I'll pick one up then. But I look for how the set sort of settles itself into the market. Then I think about what are the top chase cards. So does it have big hits inside the top? Does it have depth to its chase? Are there 15 cards above $10 US? A lot of sets don't. And then I think about what's its future investability and, I suppose, fun factor, for lack of a better word. Are streamers going to want to open it in the future? Because predominantly this is where a lot of your audience will come from for future booster box sales. Honestly, kids aren't going to buy it. Maybe the ones that open it will get that nostalgia kick and want to buy it, but also maybe not. So, and also sealed collect. So, you've got to think about your audience in the future, who you're going to sell these products to. It's going to be things like people doing box breaks and live streams and YouTube videos, sealed collectors. So conditions, that's why conditions so important on a sealed. A lot of people that will be buying your sealed product will be sealed collectors. So condition is so important on it. I think I'm sidestepping the question a little bit here, but you get my point. Next goal, this is a good one. I'm completely new. Where do I start? Well, sometimes I might almost speak, because I try and speak to the audience, and I think most of you guys are extremely clued up, and a lot of you probably have a fair bit of experience in it as well. But if you're really, really new to the hobby, just focus on the basics. First of all, I just say learn. Like learn. Watch as many videos as you can, read as much as you can, study the sets that have been out in the past that have performed well. What makes it a good set? Why has it performed well? Do some of your own research into it. Generally, if you're new, you can't go wrong with the OG buying yourself a booster box. Generally, they'll perform pretty well over time. You also can't go wrong with getting an ETB, and you also can't go wrong with getting something like a check lane blister or a 3-pack blister that are sealed compared to a single booster pack. Like those things are going to perform better, especially if they've got a promo inside them. In terms of which set, if you're looking to invest in, you really should just focus on the chase cards to start off with. Does it have a strong chase card? Is there depth in those chase cards? Is it a good set? What's the feel around the community and the talk around that set? I mean, don't be a sheep and just follow everyone else. You've got to do your own research. But before you jump in, make sure you're well researched. Go ahead, buy yourself a couple of sealed booster boxes so you're starting to enter the hobby. But before you invest heavy, do your research. Would you invest $20,000 into a company that you know nothing about? No, you'd research it first. So my tip there, if you're new to the hobby, by all means, get started. Buy yourself something, but do your due diligence and research. Next question. I think I've only got 2 to go, maybe 3. $1,000. XY, Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet booster boxes. What would you buy? $1,000, eh? 1,000 Australian or 1,000 US? That's the big question. I'm bullish on some ladder, and I've said this before, bullish on ladder, Sword and Shield sets, particularly if they're old art based and trainer gallery based. That's just like tick, tick. So things like Brilliant Stars, if you can pick it up well, things like Astral Radiance, Lost Origin. I'm always a bit harsh on Silver Tempest. I don't really know why, but Silver Tempest. Tick, tick, tick. Old art sets, trainer gallery sets, good news. The last series with English yellow borders. Scarlet and Violet, what would I get so far? Probably Paldea Evolved. I think that's a good set. I think it's a bit underrated and maybe overshadowed with the hype around the 151 coming out, so I don't think that's a bad buy. XY, what would I get? I don't know. That's a hard one. XY, the artwork's a bit hard. Like there's not some real top tier chase cards throughout the XY series, which makes it a bit hard. I still don't think, yes, Evolutions is stagnated, but it'll get another spike, and it'll probably get another spike somewhere around the 30th anniversary. So I don't think XY Evolutions is a bad pickup. Those Charizard ETBs are also really nice to look at. Next question. What is something the Pokemon Company should do more of or less of? Big question there. So many things on my mind personally, but just to name a couple quickly so I don't bore you with all my thoughts. I'm not a big fan, and I've said this before, of Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes. I just feel that's a cash grab. You've got a booster box and you've got an Elite Trainer box. Why do you need to add another level of exclusivity? That's like something we do in the car world I shouldn't say stitch people up, because we don't. We don't at all. But, we have a model, and then on top of that, top of the range model, we add an extra rare one. And then there's another rare one on top of that. And it's almost just it feels like a bit of a cash grab. Give it a bit of a break. How many sealed products do we need? And now we've got these little booster pack bundles, which are cool, by the way. But it's how many sealed products do you know? I just feel they would narrow it by 1 or 2 products, maybe. Maybe. That's one thing. The second thing is some of the set size, and the frequency of how often they're bringing them out. Just as a collector, it would make it, or even as a kid collecting them, it would make it so hard to finish a set. You might just be getting started. Go to the shop, get 5 booster packs. Okay, I've got my binder full. Fortnite, save up a bit more pocket money. Go get a booster box bundle, another 6 boosters. Yep. And before you know it, 3 trips to the shop after 12 weeks, or 4 trips to the shop, and all of a sudden there's an all new set coming out. You're like, then you got to start again as a kid. So I don't know, maybe the frequency is a bit quick and maybe the set size is a bit big. The other thing I like is, this is one thing I would change. I really think there needs to be some real ultra rare hits. Like, I really like the fact, I think they got it right with something like Brilliant Stars, right? Where you've got the trainer gallery there, you've got chase cards. I think it's about a 45% to get yourself a hit, whether it's just a standard V, a trainer gallery, or something rarer than that, like a rainbow, a gold, or an alt art. Like, that's good. That means nearly every 2 packs you're opening, you're pretty much getting a hit. But I think you need, so I like that ratio. I really like that ratio. But then I think you need just insanely difficult pull rates on insanely rare cards. Like, how cool would it be? I know it makes it hard to pull it, but how cool would it be if a Charizard was 1 in 1,500 packs rather than 1 in, I think it's about 1 in 500 packs? Like Umbreon VMAX. It might feel like it if you've opened lots of Evolving Skies that it's impossible to pull. Imagine if that was 1 in 1,500 packs rather than, I think that's about 1 in 700 packs. Then it's just like, if you pull it, bang, and there's less supply of them on the market, and they're worth heaps more. It's like you've got if you could just have a couple of golden chase cards that's so rare and hard to get in each set, that's something I would love for them to do. Very last question. I feel like I've tried to answer them all. If I've missed any, I apologize. I feel like I tried to group them together. So hopefully I've answered them all. But very last question. Should you only get booster boxes or should you diversify? Yes, I think you should diversify, because sometimes there's some products that just start popping off. Like, and I've said this before, Evolving Skies 3-pack blister with Umbreon on it. That's like 325% up in a couple of years. So I won't bore you and keep going on, but yes, you should diversify. And plus, I think it looks cooler in the collection to have an ETB and a booster box, and then you got maybe a 3-pack blister with a promo sitting inside it. This is Michael. I'm PokeOz. Thanks heaps for watching the 3-part series on answering all your questions. I hope you all learnt something, and I'll catch you next time.